something is happening with our boys and young men. You can feel it, in schools, in families, in everyday conversations, and especially online. More and more of them are being drawn into spaces that promote resentment, control, emotional detachment, and sometimes even hate. From red pill ideology to incel forums to influencers like Andrew Tate, these spaces are no longer underground. They're highly visible, and for some young men, they're deeply persuasive. But the real question is, why are they going there in the first place? What are they not getting from the rest of us? What is society not offering that makes these ideologies feel like home? Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. We've been talking a lot about toxic masculinity in recent years, and for good reason. According to the Oxford Dictionary, it's defined as a set of attitudes and behaviors stereotypically associated with or expected of men, leading to entitlement to violence against women. That definition is widely understood, and it's helped open important conversations about how certain aspects of masculinity, when left unchecked, can cause harm to others and to men themselves. But what happens when we only focus on one side of the story? When I looked up toxic femininity, I expected to find a balanced counterpart, something that recognized the harmful behaviors or attitudes that some women may direct toward men. Phrases like, "Men are trash," "We don't need men," "Masculinity is toxic," "All men are the same," "Men can't be victims." But that's not what I found. In fact, the term toxic femininity doesn't even appear in the Oxford Dictionary. And the definitions I did find online described it only as societal pressures on women to conform to harmful stereotypes, leading to the suppression of their needs and agency. Nowhere did it address the growing trend of casual misandry, the kind that labels all men as broken, dangerous, or irrelevant. Nowhere did it acknowledge that boys and young men are hearing these messages, internalizing them, and responding to them. The only mainstream article I could find that even touched on this was in The Independent, about Love Island, where female contestants' behavior reduced male participants to tears. A UK men's domestic abuse charity had to publicly call on producers to offer male contestants the same duty of care as women. That was the moment everything clicked for me. Because the unspoken narrative our young men are growing up with is this: masculinity is toxic and dangerous. Femininity is flawless and beyond critique. And boys? Boys are the problem. So where do they go when they feel criticized for who they are? Where do they turn when they're hurting, confused, or ashamed, and no one is listening? They turn to the internet. To the red pill. To people who say, "You're not broken. Society is. You're not weak. You've just been lied to. You don't need emotional support. You need power, control, dominance." This is where the red pill ideology comes in. It tells young men that society has lied to them about gender, that feminism has gone too far, and that women only value status and power. It tells them that being emotionally open is weak and being dominant is the only way to survive. And in a world where many boys feel invisible or vilified, these messages don't sound dangerous at first. They sound like truth. They sound like validation. They sound like belonging. But that validation is poisoned. Because what starts as a message of empowerment quickly becomes a script of control, distrust, and resentment, especially towards women. And it's not just happening in dark corners of the internet anymore. It's happening in public spaces. In viral videos. In group chats. In algorithms designed to feed outrage and division. And at the heart of it all is this: a generation of young men that feels unseen. Unheard. Unwelcome. Let's talk about the word incel, short for involuntarily celibate. It's become a loaded and often derogatory label. But many of the men who identify with that word are not hateful by nature. They are deeply lonely. Socially isolated. Rejected repeatedly. They feel like they don't belong anywhere. And when that pain isn't met with compassion, it finds other outlets, sometimes dangerous ones. The hate is not where it started. It started with silence. It started with shame. I believe our mental health systems, our schools, and society at large have failed to offer young men the space they need to understand who they are without judgment. We've been great at calling out misogyny. But how often do we talk about misandry? How often do we challenge the casual, culturally accepted messaging that all men are dangerous, stupid, emotionally unavailable, or expendable? Because if we want to stop boys from falling into harmful ideologies, we have to talk about everything that's pushing them there. Not just the parts that fit neatly into our comfort zones. This is not about choosing sides. This is about saving a generation from confusion, radicalization, and self-hate. It's about giving boys room to feel, space to question, and permission to be human. To be sensitive. To be vulnerable. To be strong without domination. To be seen. As psychologist and author Dr. Warren Farrell puts it, when only one sex wins, both sexes lose. We can't keep telling boys to man up while also punishing them for what that has traditionally meant. We can't tell them to be kinder, softer, more emotionally available, while calling them weak when they try. So what's the answer? It starts with balance. It starts with compassion. It starts with acknowledging that boys and young men need support, too, and not just when they're in crisis. We must challenge all toxic narratives, whether they come from men or women, online or offline, in the name of progress or disguised as empowerment. Let's raise a generation of young men who know they're worthy without needing to dominate. Let's raise young women who recognize their strength doesn't require putting men down. Let's build a world where gender equity is based on mutual respect, not mutual suspicion. This isn't just a video. This is a rallying cry. A call to educators, parents, mental health professionals, and society as a whole. Let's be brave enough to talk about the uncomfortable things. Because healing starts with honesty. And change starts with all of us.